All right, so what have you heard about Mary Collins? Have you ever heard that name?
I don't think so.
I didn't either until recently, and I was just doing like regular research into different true crime cases, and lately I've been trying to look up like police mistakes, fraud, things like that. That's how it came to this, because I'm interested in like the statistics around how many cases on average have police corruption. And last week I found one that wasn't corruption. This isn't corruption either, in my opinion. I think this is just a mistake, man. And I'll talk about the statistics at the end of it. But who is Mary Collins? Mary Collins was a 20-year-old girl, and she was a 20-year-old girl that was born with 22q deletion syndrome, also known as DeGeorge syndrome. I think it's like a midline...
A chromosome defect?
Yep. Those with the rare genetic condition may exhibit medical symptoms that can include heart defects, poor immune system function, among others, as well as delayed development with behavioral and emotional problems. I know she had to have her palate like rebuilt and things. So Mary had a hard time growing up, man. I mean, she was developmentally like 5 years behind what her age was. So her parents say mentally she was like 14, 15, 16 years old, but she was a 20-year-old girl. And, kids are mean. So
Yeah.
a lot of times that comes with bullying. Well, this is right around when COVID was hitting hard, man, and the whole country was locked down and everything. And at one point, Mary had dated this guy, Levy. And, okay, so Levy Fam was 23. It might be Pam even, I'm not sure. A different nationality. And Levy had dated Mary before. So it ended up not working out for whatever reason, and they broke up. And Levy started dating this girl, Kelly Lavery. Well, they stayed friends, or so Mary Collins thought. And through their friendship, maybe there was some jealousy going on in the beginning. I don't really know. But this new girl, Kelly, was known to be a bully to Mary, and on multiple occasions made even comments so bad, telling her like, hey, you're so gross, you should end yourself. Stuff like that.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I think due to Mary's medical conditions and issues that she had, she always looked at people like the most optimistic. She just wanted to be accepted, having a hard time growing up and everything. So she chose to forgive these people and continue hanging out with them.
No.
So, yeah. So, COVID is raging. Everyone's at home. Nobody has anything to do except for hang out with friends and family. And these two reach out. Kelly and Levy reach out and say they want to hang out. Come on over, Mary. We want to hang out with you. And at 2:30 p.m.
Oh, I know. I have heard this, actually.
On March 28th at 2:30 p.m., Mary headed over to their house, to their apartment. They got an Uber for her and paid for it. And once she got over there, they started hanging out. They ended up going out to eat together, took all kinds of videos and pictures of them hanging out. Even took a video of them like walking out of the apartment and walking in, joking, what seemed like they were laughing and having a good time. And they continued to hang out in the apartment. Within a couple hours, they ended up calling over another friend. I don't know if alcohol was involved. I'm not really sure. But as far as we knew, they were, just hanging out and partying and being young 20s, whatever. Well, fast forward in time here a couple days. So on March 30th, Kelly's phone, she couldn't be reached, right? So she has this disorder. She's really close to her family. She lives with her family. She said she was going to hang out over here. And 2 days had gone by, and her family hadn't been able to get a hold of her, which is really uncommon. Really, really uncommon. And what?
I don't remember exactly what happened, but I do remember her mom or whoever her caretaker was saying that she literally could not be without her phone. Like, she had to have it because it had all these reminders on it, and she also was just learning how to get around town because of her disorder. Like, she didn't have a sense of direction at all.
Yeah.
Like, she literally needed it for lots of things in her everyday life.
Yeah.
So this, like, would not happen. She would not just not be on her phone, have her phone.
Yeah. So her parents knew that something was strange going on since they couldn't get a hold of her. They hadn't heard from her in 2 days. So what they ended up doing was pulling up their wireless carrier and locating her last location. You know, they knew she was going over to hang out with friends. They didn't know exactly where that apartment was. They pulled up the locator and saw that she had never left that apartment. The last known location was this apartment. So they felt okay, gave it a few hours, kept trying to call. Maybe her phone was dead during those call attempts, whatever. But after a few hours, no dice, nothing. So her grandma decided, you know what, I'm going over there. I'm just too worried. I just want to make sure she's okay. This is really, 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 really uncommon. So she goes over there, and Levy answers the door and says, oh, yeah, I mean, you just missed her a few hours ago. She just left a few hours ago. And her grandma was like, what do you mean left? And they said, I don't know. We've been hanging out here, but she said she needed to go, and she left a few hours ago. That's all we know. And she said, okay, and didn't feel very good about that.
Yeah.
And left, continued calling, no go. No pickup, phone dead, whatever, going straight to voicemail. So at 11 p.m. that same night, the grandma calls police and says, hey, she gives them a rundown, what's going on. You know what I mean? I haven't heard from her in a few days, this last location, yada, yada, yada. And basically the police say, look, she's a 20-year-old girl, and there's not much we can do about it. You can call this number, file a missing persons, and they'll handle it from there. So she calls the investigators' number, files a missing person, which takes a little bit of time for them to call you back unless it's an underage child. But the police do decide to go over there and check. So they stop by and just talk to Levy, and Levy says, hey, she was here. Essentially just repeats the same story as he told the grandma. The investigators call him back and they say, the grandma's worried at this point. A whole nother 24 hours has gone by, and the grandma's worried at this point. And the investigator's like, look, she's a 20-year-old girl. Like, there's nothing that we can do for her. And the grandma lays everything out on the table. Look, she has this syndrome, and I understand she's 20, but mentally she's only 14, 15 years old. Like, it's not the same as a normal person. And basically the investigators tell her to kick rocks,
It's so messed up.
It is so messed up.
That is not okay.
No, it is not okay. Oh, man. It makes me wish there's like a list of disorders or syndromes that like should override that always.
There is
You know
now.
what I mean? Not in every state. It's state by state.
You're right.
So this is what the grandma does. The grandma doesn't feel right. The phone says it's there, right? When a phone dies, it leaves its last known location. It says it's at the apartment, and she would not have left without it. If she did briefly, she would have came back and got it. Like, that just can't happen. So the grandma is feeling weird about this, and she sets up a family rotation to watch this apartment, dude. And
They literally become the cops?
They do. So at every minute of the day for a 24-hour rotation, the family takes turns watching this apartment, watching for her to come out. Because was she in the apartment and for some reason she was like, I don't want to go back home anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it could be anything. For real, it could be anything.
The fact that police wouldn't just say, hey, can we take a look around?
They did. But, so they... Not quick enough.
Okay.
And the family's doing this thing. The cops go back. The investigators this time, because remember, the police did it the first time. Then the investigators go back and say, you know, can we take a look around? Cops stopped by here once. Can we take a look around? So the Levy lets them in, and they look around, whatever, and lifts the mattress even in the bed, so like the layout is like an L shape, okay? There's like an L shape, and they look around everywhere and lift the mattress in the back and shows them that she's not there. There's nothing there, okay? Well, the family isn't okay with this still. They think that something's going on there. She has to be there. There's no way she would have left her phone and just never came back. Something is wrong. And the family continues pressing. And yes, they turn into the police. They go to the door and they essentially like try and force him to let them in. He does. He lets them in and is resistant to let him in the back bedroom. Finally lets him in the back bedroom and says, look, she's not here. She is not here, you know. And they leave frustrated, but Levy calls the police. So the investigator then calls the family and says, you can't do this. You got to leave them alone, you know. And the family knows more, and she has a syndrome that hinders her emotional age and intelligence age and things like that. So the family presses on, right? And they call the investigators and say, hey, can you get the video from this place to see if she went in and ever came out? The investigators blows them off and is like, nah, I can't. That requires a warrant, which, if you guys don't know, it is a public area. It doesn't require a warrant. Where the parking and things are, it does not require a warrant. If you have a badge, you could have gone in there and got that. But so the family blows up this apartment complex and finally agree to let the family see the video. But when they go in there, because so many days had passed, it was already erased from the month prior, so they didn't get to see that. Well, they were feeling...
That's terrible.
Yeah, they were feeling like they were at a dead end here, okay?
Yeah.
Well, within 24 hours, the whole thing flips. A guy comes forward. A guy calls the police department and says, hey, I have information to tell you guys, okay? And the police have him come in, and he says, hey, there is a body there. She is there. Who's calling in? It is a James Solero, and he says he went there for a party. They tied Mary up to a chair, okay, so trigger warning, everybody. Against her will, tied her up to a chair, and then proceeded to beat her and stab her. Yeah, the three of them proceeded to beat her and stab her. And she literally had wounds all over her body, according to him. So what he says after that is that those two, Levy and Kelly, put her in a bathtub and essentially bled her out in the bathtub. So,
gosh. And there was no evidence of this when the cops walked in? They literally cleaned it up that good?
No evidence.
Well, now, I mean, the cops probably weren't even looking that hard, to be honest.
The cops took heat for this, rightfully so.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Once they got this, they got a search warrant. And this time, Levy wasn't allowed to walk the cops through. They're like, yo, get out of the way. We're doing it, you know. And they search everything. And in that back bedroom, they realized that, the mattress was like 100 pounds too heavy. and they find a body in there, and she was hidden really, really good on the mat or in between the mattress. When looking, they opened up the mattress, and there is a duct tape body, literally the whole body, like a mummy, was duct taped from head to toe.
You said in between the mattress, but she was literally inside of the mattress.
Yeah. Like in between the top layer and bottom layer, like inside
the mattress.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I know. So the officers arrest all 3 of them and charge them all with murder. Now, in the what's it called, where they check the body,
autopsy?
The coroner. Yep, during the autopsy in the coroner's report, when they were pulling her apart to find out exactly what had happened, she was first layered with saran wrap, and then like shower gels put on her to like try and prevent smells or something like that. And then they wrapped her from head to toe like a mummy in duct tape. So they cut all that stuff off, and they checked her whole body, and they found out that she had like 133 stab wounds.
Oh my
and
gosh.
It was really brutal because whatever they were using was not deep. Like, these were not deadly stab wounds. She was alive.
For all of them?
For most of them. Who knows if she lost consciousness? I don't know. But they were on her neck, on her head, her ear, her face, her chest, her back, literally everywhere. And not very deep. So, she bled out in the bathtub. Really sad, like super sad, dude. And
what is wrong with them?
I don't know. And with such a nice girl, like, dude, she put up with the bullying and just wanted to be friends and hang out and have people, that she could call her own friends. And something like this happens, like, it's so disgusting. It is so gross.
Yeah.
And so they all get arrested and charged. And during the interrogations and conversations and things like that, they find out that a 4th person was called. This James Solero, right, who called in the tip, had reached out to a Tinder date he had and asked her to come over and help clean up. And she did, willingly.
What? Hey, Tinder date, come over and help me cover up a murder. Okay, yeah, I'll be there in 5 minutes.
Her name was America Deal.
What a dummy. What?
I don't know.
Why would you do something like that for
saying.
somebody you barely know?
Why would you do something like that at all? But yes, why would, how do you bring up that conversation like, hey, you're super hot. I would love to kill someone with you. What? Is there some kind of underground language to let people know, hey, I'm a killer and sociopath or something?
Yeah, I don't know. That's super weird, man.
I don't know, but this crime was awful. It was horrible. It grossed me out. It made me feel really bad for her.
I feel terrible.
It made me
her.
wish that there were just less evil people in there. That these people were so self-centered. Even when they were arrested, they were trying to figure out ways not to get murder one. They tried lying and saying that because murder one was premeditated. This was premeditated. The reason they went out and took all those videos was to try and prove that she was alive when they were with her. Okay, but they ended up telling the prosecution in the state that they got mad. It was in a fit of rage because she wouldn't have a threesome with them. Their phone text messages planning this a day ahead prove that it was planned. It was orchestrated ahead of time. So they all ended up getting first-degree murder. Kelly Lavery was sentenced to 25 to 32 years in prison. She won't be out till late 50s, early 60s. Lavy was pled not guilty, so we're waiting for that trial. And then James got bonded out, pled not guilty, and we're waiting on that as well, while that American deal got let out too on a bond. So I know
They're out on bond?
Yeah. Is that not super weird?
That's ew. Why would they do that?
I don't know.
He was just as much involved as the other two were.
I don't know.
And she literally was a Tinder date and came over and helped clean it up.
Yeah, he wasn't. I think what will happen with James is, I bet you realistically he will probably be charged with concealing a death and assault with a deadly weapon, and maybe attempted, because it was Levy and Kelly who put her in the bathtub and proceeded to end her. Because remember, she was alive with the stab wounds.
Okay.
So I do think that James will probably get lesser charges just based on how the court will look at it.
Okay.
Because those two were in the bathroom ending her. You know what I mean?
Like the official.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's the one who came forward and told. That's going to go a long way.
You're right.
He's going to catch time. There's no way around that. He's going to do time. But he came forward, you know?
Yeah, it's gonna be less for sure.
Yeah, maybe he'll only get 15 years or 20 years, something like that. But yeah, absolutely. So my big thing is what can be done different, because could this have been prevented? I based on the timeline, it doesn't seem like it could be prevented. But could the family felt like law enforcement had their back? Like, one thing they mentioned is that law enforcement failed her over and over and over and over and over again. They even feel like those two getting let out on bond was a failure. They feel like the plea agreement for 25 to 32 years and not life is a failure.
Yeah.
They feel like they've been failed over and over and over again, basically told to kick rocks by the police.
Yeah, and I agree with them.
Yeah.
100%. I would feel the same way if I was in their shoes. I would feel like you guys dropped the ball big time. Like, I think an issue that you see in some police officers, not all, and I feel like it's changed over the years, but when a person goes missing and a family member comes out, like say it's a child or something, and the mom is like, hey, my child would never run away.
Yeah.
Never. It wouldn't happen. This is not normal. Something happened. I need you guys to look into this. And back in the day, they used to be like, well, it's a runaway. We have to wait 48 hours, blah, blah, blah. Like, this reminds me of that. Well, she's 20 years old and she can do what she wants.
I agree. I think there's a problem with it.
The moment, especially if they are a child or they are, like, handicapped in some way.
Anyway, yeah. I agree.
There needs to be honestly, even if they're not, I think there needs to be at least a missing persons put out right away.
I agree.
If their family members are saying, this is unlike them. They didn't just run away. This is odd.
I agree with you. And
the police should take that very seriously immediately.
I immediately felt that same way, right? And one thing that I try and do all the time is I always try and prove myself wrong. Yeah. That's always the perspective I take in any situation, especially when I start feeling emotions over something, because all emotions are biased. You can't have emotions and not be biased. So I always try and prove them wrong, right? And I was like, okay, that's messed up for the family. So how can I look at this differently? And I started looking at police. How could police look at this the wrong way, right? Being in a position where they care about helping people. So I started looking up missing person stats. And it says, according to the National Missing and Unidentified Persons Database, which is funded by U.S. Department of Justice, more than 600,000 people go missing annually. Approximately 4,400 unidentified bodies are recovered each year. Nationwide, there are roughly 6.5 missing persons for every 100,000 people. Luckily, the vast majority of missing persons cases are quickly resolved, which is what I was looking for. For example, 521,705 missing persons cases were reported in 2021. More than 485,000 of those were resolved within the year. So I broke that up into a percentage. That is 93% of missing persons were found alive, well, and taken care of.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
That's pretty impressive.
That means more than 9 out of every 10 people that get filed as a missing persons are actually found alive and well. So.
And a lot of police work is based off statistics.
It is. I'm not giving them an excuse here, but what I am giving them is knowledge is power. If I'm a police officer, I would love to have this stat. So not to not do your job, but to when you start feeling like, oh, a missing person again, like she's 20, they're going to find her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying.
You can lean on this stat.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I totally see what you're saying. I just think when you have families saying, hey, like, this is... And in the case of her having this, this syndrome, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
If there's anyone who has a syndrome like that or like a mental handicap or anything like that, I feel like there's so much at risk, like so much more at risk than a lot of people. Because they can't pick up on certain things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like her, she was like a people pleaser and she wanted to be like cool and stuff. And I don't know, it's just super sad. Like it should have been taken much more serious than it was, I think. And even if they didn't take it serious at first, they doubled down after the grandma coming to them multiple times.
Yeah. It was a fail for sure.
But hopefully they learn from it. I mean, it's unfortunate that... I mean, clearly she was already gone by the time they went looking for her. Mm-hmm. But it's unfortunate it takes all of this to learn that lesson. But hopefully they grow from it.
Yep. I hope so. But I'm more curious what you guys think. And make sure you let us know. And let us know.
Yeah.